We plan to have 4 Select Committee hearings over the course of a legislative term, and as some of you know, the first one we spent really defining the problem and looking at some of the data and the research that was out there saying just how big is California's dropout crisis. And we had Russ Rumberger come in to testify, and we didn't just find out the numbers, we also found out the economic impact of the dropout crisis on California in terms of increased cost through social services and criminal activity, and looking at how if we just focus some of our resources, we could make a huge economic difference for California solving the problem. The second hearing we had examined some of the programs that are operating throughout California that are looking at preventing students from dropping out in the first place or getting into a lot of those high-risk categories. But this hearing is going to focus on dropout recovery and 3 different perspectives on dropout recovery: a county program from El Dorado County, a charter school with schools throughout California, a school district continuation program for Santa Clarita. And after we do this hearing, my hope is to have one more that will be kind of just for this legislative term, will sum up the best practices that we've learned in California and how to help implement some of those strategies throughout California. But before I begin, I would like to share some information with those of you who are stakeholders and interested in this topic. I did just go to D.C. to meet with other state legislators that are working on dropout programs in other states throughout the country. The National Conference of State Legislators has a task force on school dropout prevention. They've had a lot of the same witnesses come and testify to that task force, as well as having some of the think tanks from D.C. come in and talk about some successful models throughout the country. We are not alone in California in dealing with the dropout crisis, and my hope is that in our final hearing we'll bring in some of the reports generated by that task force on what they think states could be doing to help fix the dropout problems, because some of it's legislative, but a lot of it happens at the local level, and not everything can be done from a legislative perspective. And I am keenly aware of how important local control is on fixing some of these problems, but being able to share those successful models, not just for the ones happening in California, but happening throughout the country, is part of my goal for our final dropout hearing.